Are you serious? Are you serious, folks? Well, we're glad you're with us today, and this is going to be one of the most important broadcasts as it relates to the effects of the coronavirus on the economy, a global scale, and certainly here in the United States. And as we take a look at today's numbers, which are off the charts, the Dow Jones closed at a minus 2,999 points. That's right. The Dow drops 2,999 points, and people are watching the market evaporate right before their very eyes in the midst of a coronavirus. And yet the reaction here in Indiana, the governor of the state of Indiana closing all bars and all restaurants, and no one can gather in a crowd of more than 50 people. I walk into a Subway restaurant, a Subway, where all the chairs are up on the table. There's only 18 chairs, and the guy's standing behind the counter by himself. I said, "You open?" He said, "Yeah, we're ready." I said, "You have no chairs to sit on." He goes, "We had to close all the chairs down." I said, "There's only 18 chairs." He said, "Don't ask me. I just do what I'm told." And it shows me that the panic and the reaction seems to be greater than the virus itself. But we need answers. We need hope here. We need someone that is an expert in their field. And today we have him. It is Bob Kudla from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. He has hope. He has answers. He has reality. And Bob, it's an honor to have you with us again here today. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me. And I'm not a virologist, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn last night before they shut it down.
You're not a doctor either, and you don't play one on TV. But can you look into your crystal ball and tell us what's going on with the coronavirus and the effects on the United States?
Yeah, so let's just talk about the virus itself. Now, let's set aside all the panic and the news media. I've been labeling them the panic pimps because they tend to overplay everything. So let's just assume for a second that they're correct about the coronavirus being a novel virus, meaning that the natural immunity of the population is very low and the infection rate is high. And so the United States, took some quick action with China, which stopped a lot of what's happening in Italy from happening here. The Italians are getting hit really hard because there's over 300,000 Chinese that are in northern Italy from all the companies that they bought in the leather goods and related industries, and then they populated their managerial ranks and other folks into that. And they all came back from the Chinese New Year and promptly infected the Italians. So I think that and Spain and France, I think what really scared people. And so last week, when Trump put the kibosh on travel to Europe, once again, they called him a racist with China, then they called him a xenophobe and an overreactor with France. Now the whole world basically shut their borders down. And but the United States, if you noticed, and if you look at Australia and you look at Canada, we're kind of unique in dealing with viruses because we are not densely populated countries. And the way a virus works, it works kind of like a network effect. You need to have somebody who's infectious, and then that infection needs to leave their body and then be exposed to another person, primarily by air. I talk a lot about touching, but most of it's by air and in droplets. And so they have to be able to continue to hit people and ping people. Well, in France and in Italy and in China, these people are all on top of each other. And they're old populations, and these people smoke. And then the other thing with that part of the world, too, is that in the United States, even though you hear the media bedwetters talk about how woefully inadequate we are, we have the best healthcare system in the world. And people are going to see why it's the most expensive in the world. We have more ICU beds per 100,000 people than anyone else in the world. We have more ventilators than anywhere else in the world per population. And we have more specialists than anybody else in the world per population. So we are uniquely positioned, probably other than maybe like Israel, with the wherewithal and the gray matter to treat what we would call heroic care. And if you notice, and if I was been thinking, Paul, I'd get you this. Maybe I'll get it for you to give out to your listeners later. There's a tracker for the coronavirus out there. United States, people talk about we're not testing, so we don't know. That's really irrelevant. What you really have to focus on is how many people are entering into what's called serious care for the coronavirus or / influenza in general. And in the United States, there's only 12 people in ICU for coronavirus.
What?
12. Less than 80 people, I think, as of this day, 80 people have passed away.
But Bob, I mean,
the average age is over 80. And so what we're seeing here is that, I guess, a lack of understanding in terms of the infection versus people getting sick. Now, that's cold comfort for people who get sick. And I think what happens with Europe is that a lot of people, multi-generational people, live together, and so you're having a little bit different mix. So what I'm trying to say there is that, and if this primarily a United States Canadian audience, is that have hope. The other part of this too, Paul, is that there's a thing, and I got this too, and I have friends that are actually experts in this space. I mean, experts. 40 years, respiratory, docs, okay? And what they say is that unless this virus is so unique and different, coronaviruses have a really hard time they having potency when the average temperature is above 55 degrees and the average humidity is over 50%. Well, the United States is swinging into spring and summer. And if you notice where the infections are most prevalent, is Seattle was the gateway to Asia, New York was the gateway to Italy. And these are northern cities in this latitude that is ideal for spreading. Look at Florida. Florida is the oldest population average in the country. There's no infections. Look at Southern California. No infections. And if they are infected, they're not spreading. So I think what I'm trying to say here is that this too shall pass, and probably as we get into April and into May, this thing will go dormant, and then between then and September and October, when it'll probably come back again in some form, is that they'll have more protocols, they'll have more ideas on how to deal with it, and they'll have actually some vaccinations that'll probably be through the testing. So this virus thing will pass its way through. Even the Spanish flu, which was horrific, which this is not, it died down every year. It just swung around the world 3 times because the world just got done with World War I, and sanitation and hygiene was not really understood or practiced very well. And so the biggest thing that people need to understand is that GDP and your latitude and your healthcare system are all the 3 determinants of how well a country is going to get through this outbreak. So that's why I'm hopeful. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have some really weird economic pain. My wife's business is shut down now. I don't know when she'll be able to pick up another client. Her last client's leaving today, and that's it. So, this is going to be heartburn for a lot of people. And as God calls us to be obedient to the powers that be, as long as they're lawful orders, right? So we're just going to have to suck it up and hope that they know more than we do and why they're reacting this way.
Folks, we got Bob Kudla with us from TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's TradeGeniusAcademy.com. And, Bob has got tremendous insight and really wisdom, not only about the markets, but in general. And when you hear this dialogue that you just gave us, it does give us hope. Matter of fact, he's got some St. Patrick's Day specials he's running to help people understand how to get themselves into the market, how to trade. He's even going to knock off an extra $100 this month as part of his stimulus package out to people. And you can pick up the phone. What's that number again, Brock? That's 1-800-949-1408. That's 1-800-949-1408. You can give a call, talk to Bob, one of his staff, and find out more about what he's got going this month. It'd be a good time. Matter of fact, I would think this is going to be the buyer's market now, but because people just need guidance on where they should get involved at. And training is so important. Bob, I love what you said about the fact that the colder, you take Seattle, you take New York, those are the two cities I actually predicted that the virus would break out in America simply because it is the gateway, northern city gateways. You're exactly right on the money on that. And Florida, boy, thank God the agent population down there is not getting it. It would be horrendous. And I agree with you. We do have to obey the laws of the land. I think President Trump seems to be in a quandary. Everywhere he turns, he's got advice coming in from every different direction. Everybody's praying for him. He asked the nation to pray yesterday. We will overcome this, and I think you're right. He believes that by April, May, we will start to see a decline in it. We're going to build more machines if we need them for ventilation. And I think you're all over this, that you're exactly right. Do you think, I like to hate to think that something nefarious is going on. I would hate to believe that people would, whether it be the Chinese, would actually be planning a bioweapon into this thing or different strains. God only knows. But do you think the president is able to survive this and still be reelected come fall? Do you feel good about our ability to recover quickly?
Look, the polls are not blaming him whatsoever. So, and when he's out in front of people, they said today's press conference, I didn't get a chance to listen to it because I was trading, getting ready for you and I to talk. They said it was staggeringly good. And they said he was on top of his game. He was cogent. He answered every question. He was very direct. He was humble, and that he is taking an appropriate level of concern, and he just has a big presence. And what the country needs now is information and seeing a pathway to success. And I think he's grasped that. He has a new chief of staff that, comes from the political environment that's probably given him some good advice. And, the big knock on President Trump is that he can be boastful and dismissive, and he was neither of those today. So from that standpoint, I think it's good. Mike Pence, your Indiana boy, he's getting praise across the board of just being articulate and, comforting. And the team behind him is very, very good. And so our government is getting good grades, and people aren't blaming Trump. And I think what's happening now with the press, that I think they're starting to get a lot of feedback back on them of, hey, we're in this together. And then if you look at Biden and you look at Sanders, even if you don't like President Trump and you're a Democrat, come on. One guy's senile and the other guy would literally drive us off a cliff.
Exactly.
And, you've had Trump now for 4 years. What has he done that's been bad? So I think from a political standpoint, I think he's probably going to lock this thing down. People aren't going to blame him for the stock market. You just can't stop what's happening. And so what I will say is that there's going to be the Fed's done, okay? So they can't get below zero. All they can do is buy up all the debt that's created. So their role now is going to be relegated to that. The Fed now is now, I think, has a gun to its head metaphorically, in that people now have leverage over the banks because, once again, the banks are going to be blamed for this. And so Trump's going to get them to do whatever he wants them to do. And so what you're going to see now is Congress is going to just load up the money machine. And they have to do it, Paul. What people don't understand, there's kind of three parts to money. There's what I would call base money. That's the money that gets printed up and you put in your checking account and stuff like that. Then there's credit money that is borrowed into existence completely by a mortgage or a credit card or an auto loan and things of that nature. And then there's this thing called velocity, the speed in which it moves, in transactions. Well, velocity is collapsing, and now you have max pain on credit, and so the only thing that they have left is what they call base money, and that's where you're going to see shoved into the system. That's why Trump has been really, really, really pounding on 0% interest, because if he loads on $5 trillion in debt to solve this economic problem we're having, he's paying no interest on it.
Yeah, that's huge.
Okay,
that's huge.
It's huge, and the worst is that you get what's called dilution of the dollar. But that's not a problem for us right now.
No, because our dollar's strong.
Scarcity of dollars around the world.
Yeah. I mean, we're strong. I mean, right now, to your point, you talk about it, this is sort of like quantum easing, isn't it? You just print. It's
way different. It's way different than quantitative easing. Quantitative easing was allowing the banks to be able to offload their loan books to the feds so they could keep lending. This is going to be quantitative easing plus the helicopter money. You're going to see checks are starting to flow, and it's not going to be like 2008 where you got $100 or $500 or a cash for clunk or any of that stuff. It's going to be, hey, you're locked down for 2 months or 3 months because of this virus. We're going to shove $3,000 a month in your pocket, kind of money. You have a small business and you don't have the liquidity to continue. You're going to get a small business loan at 0% kind of stuff.
Wow.
That kind of activity is going to happen, and then look at the refis. It's going to be refi central out there, and I'm sure they're going to ease the lending standards to allow people who may not qualify for a refi to refi. Because what they have to do is they have to get the cash flow back into the people's hands, because the banks stole it all, and get it into the people's hands. And I think you're going to see Trump do that. He's not a fan of the bankers. He's not a fan of the Fed. And he wants to put that money into people's pockets. And I think you're going to see a lot of that. And
but Bob,
Congress is going to go along because they're not suicidal either.
So, Bob, you've just come up with a winning equation for the president for re-election. I mean, he's already got the greatest economy in the history of the world. We can absorb a 2-month, a massive hit. And if he can use this leverage against Congress to go ahead and get the Congress love to print money anyway and give it away. They don't know how to do anything else. So he should be able to get them to go along with it. Then if he can pound the bankers and pound the Fed and can throw money at the people, and I really believe you'll see a comeback, a rally on the market, a bull like you've never seen snort before. I mean, a bull. I think by July, August, September, this thing may be roaring because of the money he's going to throw into the people's pockets. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is saying, look, let's throw $1,000 at everybody right now, and there'll be more of this free money coming. And Bob, I know of some people who are also been involved in some pool money. I don't know how to say it. I'll be careful how I say it, but there's been some big money out there that's been kind of hidden, waiting for the right time to kind of unleash it to certain individuals. I would think that money might get turned loose this time, and that kind of helps fuel the economy. Do you know anything about that? And do you see a bull market coming in the summer as well as a rebound effect, a boomerang?
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's some people some macro guys that I follow that I kind of watch for, and they've been pretty right on. They thought 2450, 2350 was going to be the sell-off, and then 3600 by the end of summer. Now, this was all before coronavirus, so now you could say, well, maybe we push down to 2000, 1900, and then launch from there. That's a possibility too. But yeah, I think we're not going to have a choice. The market will have to absorb all this spending, and what's going to happen is they're going to shove all this money into people. By the end of May, people are going to be out and about again, and then we're going to see velocity like you've never seen, and that'll lift the markets. That'll lift the cost of a lot of things, and then they'll probably have to start raising interest rates again. So that's why I tell people, lock in now. You have a 3-week to 1 month window to be able to take advantage of a tremendous opportunity. And I'll say one thing else too. The people say, oh, we're going to deflate, we're going to go down to zero. They just fundamentally don't understand. When you're at 0% interest rate, you can raise base money with no additional penalty to yourself. And the other thing too, Trump can go ahead, and you heard him mention it last week. I think this is the other little side thing that they're going to do, Paul, is, see, China's been throwing their weight around on the treasuries, and Russia and all these other people. Trump can just say, national emergency, you call in your treasury bills, we're swapping it out for the new ones at 0%.
Wow.
Okay.
I mean, he has declared a national emergency. So,
I mean, I'm talking about, he just gets Congress to go along with it, saying, hey, all treasury bonds that are out there that are trading for more than 1%, you need to return them to the government. We'll buy them back from you, and then you get to have this new one, the shiny new one at 0%.
That's good. That would be huge.
Yeah, well, look at what are we spending now? $170, $200 billion a year on interest.
Yeah, just stop it.
Right. So that's a good guy there too. So when people say there's no, and look, I'm no fan of the Fed, I'm no fan of deficit spending, but I'm not a fan of living in a cave. So when they say there's nothing they can do, there's a lot they can do.
Well, what's Bernie's?
It's basically recapitalizing the country.
So what's Bernie's plan in all this? I mean, here's a socialist guy that would come in and try to reinvent the whole system. I mean, that is the biggest farce in history.
Socialist. He's a communist. Socialists socialize things. This is what we're seeing now is really kind of emergency socialism, but it's all. I'll take that back. It's really trying to get capitalism back. And
right.
But what he would do, he would go single payer, okay, versus these. Look, the world's going decentralized. Bernie wants to centralize everything into his cadre of people and control everything you do for the rest of your life. That's what Bernie's all about. Okay? Biden is like, hey, I think this is the only target audience I have left. Everybody else Trump has. I'm going to say the same things, but I don't really believe it. And so, but Bernie would centralize everything. And all you have to do now, the ads I would be running, is the United States had 80 people die from coronavirus because we have the best healthcare system in the world that's private. Italy has killed thousands of their people because they had the socialized single-payer system, and they never invested in anything to save your life because they're always broke. And so that's the Bernie model. Bernie's irrelevant. He's gone. Biden, who knows what day we're going to wake up to find out that he actually is going to be living in a care facility, right? He definitely is suffering from dementia. What I worry about is who's going to pick as a running mate, because that's the person who thinks they're going to be the president, and if it's Michelle Obama or if it's Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris, I think those are the three that are probably I would watch, to see if they could steal the election, sitting as vice president.
It is really important because Biden has basically said, folks, that he is the bridge to the next generation. So he's going to choose someone who's really going to run the country if he wins. No, he's a one-term wonder in which he's turning the nation over to a Hillary Rodham Clinton or a Kamala Harris or someone. The question is really going to be here. People can see through this whole thing. This is a free falling. The Democratic Party is literally free falling, and people need real, true, mature answers. I think Trump has them. I think Pence has done a tremendous job, just like you said, and staying on top of it, talking to the people every day, not running off and hiding somewhere. And I really think there's hope. Folks, this is Bob Kudla. I think he's giving us really straight up answers. Bob Kudla at TradeGeniusAcademy.com. Pick up the phone and call him at 1-800-949-1408. Go to his website at www.TradeGeniusAcademy.com. That's www.TradeGeniusAcademy.com. 1-800-949-1408. Now, gold is, Bob's sitting at $1,496 an ounce. Silver went up today to 1735. Bitcoin is setting just shy of $5,000 a coin, and oil is at 31.87. Help us understand what this all means, Bob. Do people need to get and go to you and sign up and learn how to maneuver? There's going to be a run. I got to believe there's going to be a run in the market, and people can cash in on this.
Yeah, so we actually we're doing a strategy with oil right now when it pushed down last week into the 20s with an ETF and selling call options against it. And so that's how we're dealing with that. Then I shot you a chart called DHT. You can give that to your listeners. That's a stock with the oil tankers. What the Saudis are doing now, they got into a price war with Russia, but they don't actually want to sell the oil for $20. They just pushed it down to that price. And so now they're putting it all on oil tankers. And as long as the price of oil in the current month is less than price of oil into the next month, is that holding your oil into an oil tanker pays you by, I don't want to get into all the games, it's called contango with the way the futures operate, but they have to pay for these ships, and the rental rates are going through the roof. So this stock here, we bought it at $6. Twice last week it pushed up to $7+, and we think this thing's going to be at least a double. So this tanker, there's a couple other tankers out there too, so I encourage people, if they're worried about what to throw in their portfolio, this is one of those ones that works in these situations. I think the miners got absolutely obliterated last week because they were out there trying to steal gold because the bankers are short gold in the GLD and SLV, and they try to create a run on it so they can get out of their short positions before these bazookas start to hit and gold and silver go through the roof. And so last week the miners got actually blown up. I mean, we got blown up too. You just couldn't get out of the way fast enough. And but we were back in today, and we had two really nice trades, one for 14%, another one we're still in at 15%. And there's a couple miners that we've kept that actually, if we'd have sold them out first thing this morning, we'd have been down 20-30% on them. But today they went back to even. And so we're holding what we have. We're selectively buying again on the miners. We think probably the storm is passing on those. And then you're going to see gold and silver actually go through the roof. We have precedent here because it happened with palladium and platinum about 2 years ago, is when the bankers lose control of these derivative markets and they don't have enough to cover, the price has to rise to shake people out of their positions. So you literally, and I'm not exaggerating, gold can go from 1,500 to 2,500 without blinking an eye if people decide not to give out their physical, and these traders are stuck with these worthless paper contracts that they have to cover. And so what they have to do then is go into the futures markets and buy along with everybody else, and it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. So we're long the tankers, we're long back into the miners again, we're long oil with a special way of handling it because we think oil is going to probably bounce around between $20 and $30 range here for probably a couple months because we are full of oil, Paul. And so that's our trade, and we think it's good. The rest of the stock market, we're just going to have to wait and see where the bazookas go. But it's 60 to 70% of our economic activity services, and they're locking down all the people that go out to eat and go out to drink and do things. We're going to have a disruption there probably for a quarter or two before we look for any of those kind of opportunities. But then those will be the areas that we'll look at in the fall because they're going to be beaten down to ridiculously cheap levels.
I think you're right, and I think that there's going to be this boomerang. I'm going to call it the boomerang effect. As soon as the coast is clear, as soon as they say the coronavirus is dying off, it's dissipating, the sun is coming out, and they open the restaurants, there's going to be like prohibition, like the end of prohibition. I mean, people are going to rush to to go out eating and drinking and saying everything's merry. I mean, they're going to rush to the restaurants, they're going to rush back to the bars, and it's going to be like the end of prohibition. It's going to be insane, and I think you're going to see Look, right now they're locking down the airliners, the cruise ships, the hotels. There's no conferences. Everything is shutting down everywhere. Churches can't even go to church. I mean, this is crazy. And but the American people, you can't stop the spirit of America, the spirit of an entrepreneur spirit. You can't stop the heart of a champion. And I think that what the Americans will do, and God-fearing people who have got common sense and understand, the president is doing everything he can, and he is one guy who refuses to lose. He will bring this economy back, and he's smart. He's a Wharton business genius, really. He's a genius when it comes to this. Watch, if there's ever a comeback kid, don't look for Joe Biden or any of these other guys. It's got to be the president. I'm going to ask you, Bob, it's 1-800-949-1408. You're running the St. Patrick's Day special right now. I think people need to come see you in the next week or so. Guys, seriously, go see Bob and right now and sign up for one of his courses and learn how to get in this market. If there was ever a time to learn how to get in now before the big boomerang happens, it's not going to be a bust. You're already at the seat. We're on the floor, Bob. We're on the floor right now. We got a boomerang. The sky's the limit. We got to go up. Am I right?
Yeah, we're going to probably bounce around here a little bit, but then for sure we're gonna move higher. Look, and we do more than just train you. We have chat rooms that are 24/7. What I like to say is we teach you how to fish. We give you the toolkit to fish, and then we also throw you some fish. So we have trades that we put out every day, and we also have the training room that you can interact with other traders. And then you have the chat room, and you have courses. So we kind of give you the whole thing. But Paul, that extra special deal that we're throwing out there, the stimulus package, is it's good till Saturday night.
All right, so you can save $100 on those prices that Brock is showing you already on the St. Patrick's Day packages to get into his Trade Genius Academy. And he'll guide you. He'll walk you through. You'll walk before you run. He'll help you get going at www.tradegeniusacademy.com. Bob is a straight shooter. He's a good Christian man. He loves the Lord, loves his family, loves America, and really wants to help you, his customers. He really wants to help you to win, and you will. Let's keep the faith, guys, all of us out there. God's on our side. We're going to win. We're going to get through this. And we're going to find out who's really behind all of this, because there's more than meets the eye, I'm afraid. We'll find out more about that as we go. Bob, I appreciate you coming on, being with us today. I mean, this was probably one of the most educational and timely programs we could have ever run. And I think you've given us hope. And I think hope is a very important thing. And we're just going to trust the Lord with our finances, and he'll give us wisdom.
Yeah, hey, let me leave you with some good news. Good. Because we're all locked down, there's a lot of people that won't die in traffic accidents in the next 2 months. A lot of people that won't die in drunk driving accidents. People are going to refi their homes. People are going to get reacquainted with their friends and their neighbors and their family again. And then we get on the other side of this. So, and then people that are probably will die from the flu won't die from the flu, because we're locking that down too. So there's always good in things. And so, we don't know why God did what he did here, but it all works out to good. And then the last thing was, that's the first time I was ever early for church, Paul, because we canceled it.
You pulled into the parking lot. There's 5 cars there. Bob thought he was finally early for church. Found out it's because the service had been canceled. Hey, but anyway, you were early. Okay. But Bob, what I love about you, and you know something, Bob, I've been thinking about it myself, is when I came online 10 years ago with an online church, I see now the need. The need is enormous. People can't go anywhere else, but yet they need good quality broadcasting where they can bring in people like you and others that can help us understand the times we're in. So there's a silver lining everywhere. So thank you. And oh, by the way,
thank you, Paul.
When church does open up, try to be early. God bless you, Bob. This is Paul Begley. This is another edition of The Coming Apocalypse. Our guest, Bob Kudla from www.tradegeniusacademy.com. That's www.tradegeniusacademy.com. Or pick up the phone and call them at 1-800-949-1408. Tell them Pastor Paul sent you. All right? God bless.